God bless you. I trust that your service went well. I trust that you had a blessed day. I know that there are some services that have ended some hours ago, like us. They have just ended, or like many, they are in service or just about to start, depending on where you are in the world. But the Lord certainly has been good, and we have been blessed. We are blessed every day. In fact, every day we are blessed. It may not be a glory hallelujah time, but we are blessed and we are grateful. Not to waste any more time, and I know that for some you've been fed already, so it's not my intention at all to take up much of your day or to overfeed you, but just for you to consider and to think about as we move on as we walk with Jeremiah. Remember, we are walking with him. He does not know that we are there. He has no clue that you're standing either beside him or behind him, viewing and hearing and seeing what is going on around him. But we, if your imagination is as vivid as mine or as vivid as some, you can even probably smell the chicken, or you can smell the food or hear the water running clearly if there's water around, or if there's conversations being had. You are right there, hearing, feeling, um, and being at ease. At this time, Jeremiah really, I would say, even though uh, the account in which we have read already in the previous chapter, especially in the last session, which is from verses 13 through to 16 of chapter 14, trouble is brewing. Trouble is just moments away. So Jeremiah must be a little unsettled, I would say. I think that Jeremiah is a bit worried, probably concerned. I wouldn't use the word worried, no. He's a bit concerned of what's happening. Now, we haven't read anywhere in the last 3, 4 verses of the previous chapter. We haven't read if Jeremiah has intervened. We don't know. We do know that Jeremiah is at Mizpah. He is with the governor. That we do know. He chose to be with Gedaliah. Remember, he was given the options either to go to Babylon, when Nebuzaradan has been given instructions that if he should go back to Babylon with him, that he would be well looked after. Yes? Or he could go to Mizpah, where the seat of government has been moved to because the palaces have been burned. In Jerusalem, there houses, palaces, anything that probably could sustain the seat of government has been destroyed, burned. So Gedaliah has been placed as governor by Nebuchadnezzar. He's been given Mizpah as a place where he can govern from. So Jeremiah has decided to be with him there. That's where he's going to reside. And that is where he's being provided for. So somewhere along the days, the weeks, the months that has passed by, Jeremiah has had, I'm quite sure, communication with Gedaliah. Because again, Gedaliah is from a royal household. He's an important man. His family, his father and grandfather have been important men within the kingdom of Judah. All the way down back to Josiah, tell you the truth. That's a bit of homework for you to do. Remember, there were 5 kings. Is it 5 kings? From Josiah down to Zedekiah, that Josiah was, as I have termed him, to be the Reformation king that brought revival. Revival was started in him, and he then just issued a command saying that everybody should burn their idols, the temple should be rebuilt, godly order should be brought within the kingdom and such. So to me, he was very much a Reformation king. But all the other kings after Josiah, his sons and his grandsons and nephews, they were wicked, wicked. I mean, absolutely wicked. And selfish, wanted bad mind, as West Indian would say, bad mind and bad mind. And they just wanted to have their own way. They wanted things done in their own fashion. And so the Lord had dealt with them. Judgment had finally come upon Jerusalem. So I was just showing you that Gedaliah was very much from a well-established household within Judah, or the kingdom of Judah. They had worked they had worked with the king of Judah, or the king of Judah, and within the household of royalty. And Jeremiah now was there, let's say, probably as a prophet consultant, a religious consultant. I'm just saying that. I'm not saying it's there. It's not there. But I'm just saying he was there. So things were now going to take a turn for the worse. Let's read the 18 verses of chapter 41, and you'll see I will see exactly what's going to take place as Jeremiah accounts for this. Chapter 41. Now it came to pass in the 7th month that Ishmael the son of Nethaniah, the son of Elishama of the royal seed, and the princes of the king, even 10 men with him, came to Gedaliah the son of Ahikam to Mizpah, and there they did eat bread together in Mizpah. Then arose Ishmael the son of Nethaniah, 10 men that were with him, and smote Gedaliah the son of Ahikam the son of Shaphan with the sword, and slew him, whom the king of Babylon had made governor over the land. Ishmael also slew all the Jews that were with him, even with Gedaliah at Mizpah, and the Chaldeans that were found there, and the men of war. And it came to pass the 2nd day after he had slain Gedaliah, and no man knew it, that there came certain from Shechem, from Shiloh, and from Samaria, even 80 men, having their beards shaven and their clothes rent, and having cut themselves, with offerings and incense in their hand, to bring them to the house of the Lord. And Ishmael, the son of Nethaniah, went forth from Mizpah to meet them, weeping all along as he went. And it came to pass, as he met them, he said unto them, Come to Gedaliah the son of Ahikam. And it was so, when they came into the midst of the city, that Ishmael the son of Nethaniah slew them, and cast them into the midst of the pit, he and the men that were with him. But 10 men were found among them that said unto Ishmael, Slay us not, for we have treasures in the field of wheat and of barley and of oil and of honey. So he went forbear and slew them not among their brethren. Now the pit wherein Ishmael had cast all the dead bodies of the men whom he had slain because of Gedaliah, it was it which Asa the son of the it was it which Asa the king had made for fear of Baasha king of Israel. And Ishmael the son of Nethaniah filled it with them that were slain. Verse 10. Then Ishmael carried away captive all the residue of the people that were in Mizpah, even the king's daughters, and all the people that remained in Mizpah, whom Zebuzaradan, the king of the guard, had committed to Gedaliah, the son of Ahikam, and Ishmael, son of Nethaniah, carried them away captive and departed to go over to the Ammonites. But when Johanan, the son of Kareah, and all the captains of the forces that were with him heard of all the evil that Ishmael the son of Nethaniah had done, then they took all the men and went to fight with Ishmael the son of Nethaniah, and found him in the great waters that are in Gibeon. Now it came to pass that when all the people which were with Ishmael saw Johanan, the son of Kareah, and all the captains of the forces that were with him, then they were glad. So all the people that Ishmael had carried away captive from Mizpah cast about and returned and went unto Johanan, the son of Kareah. 15. But Ishmael, the son of Nethaniah, escaped from Johanan with 8 men and went to the Ammonites. Then took Johanan, the son of Kareah, and all the captains of the forces that were with him, all the remnant of the people whom he had recovered from Ishmael, the son of Nethaniah, from Mizpah. After that he had slain Gedaliah, the son of Ahikam, even mighty men of war, and the women and the children and the eunuchs, whom he had brought again from Gibeon. And they departed and dwelt in the habitation of Chimham, which is by Bethlehem, to go to enter into Egypt, because of the Chaldeans, for they were afraid of them, because Ishmael the son of Nethaniah had slain Gedaliah, the son of Ahikam, whom the king of Babylon had made governor in the land. So we see here that carnage took place. Things had completely gone kilter here. I don't think Jeremiah could have written a novel like this, really. But Jeremiah, he's given the account now of what actually took place. The report that Johanan had given Gedaliah came true. Ishmael, the son of Nethaniah, who had plotted to take the life or to assassinate the governor of Judah, he had come to pass. And it was while they were eating. Can you imagine? It would seem the best time to slay your enemy is at a meal. Just invite them home. Invite your enemy home. Give them a good plate of either curry goat or rice, or some oxtail. If you love fish, you can do rundown or something. If you are West Indian, if you are not, just prepare a meal that is very good and luscious and appetizing, or makes the mouth water. Let them sit around your table, and then you can slay them. The Bible here tells us, the account tells us, that there they did eat bread together at Mizpah. It was well planned, and Johanan, he must have got wind of, well, we don't know. We are told that Johanan heard, but this was probably the day after. But it was there that Ishmael and 10 of his men that were with him smote Gedaliah with the sword And it was the man that the king of Babylon. Now you can imagine the king of Babylon actually didn't hear of this straight away. But Jeremiah wants to firmly place it in our mind. He wants us to understand quite clearly that this was the man that Nebuchadnezzar put in charge of Judah. There's a reason that I believe Jeremiah wants us to know that. Remember, God was very much in the mix. I don't think we should ever think that God is not at all in the midst of what is happening. God sent Jeremiah to overthrow the king of Judah. It was God's will for that to happen. God wanted to bring order back into the land. This was not done outside of the land in which God had given him. All of this. So sin breeds sin. Now, I'm not saying that God was in charge of sin here. No, God is not in charge of sin. But when God tried to bring order amongst his people, the enemy will bring disorder. And this is what we see here. Yeah. Ishmael's heart was not good. It really was not good. Ishmael also slew all the Jews. So Ishmael must have had quite a few men with him. Not only 10. These 10, there were 10 with him at the meal because he brought his confederates with him. Obviously, if the governor invites some important people, they're going to bring in his support team, isn't it? When the president brings in another governor, head of state, in to have dinner, the president, I would have thought that the king or the prime minister, let's say, of the UK, when they're bringing in to have dinner, they're not only having dinner by themselves, but the king, the prime minister, president, whoever that may be, when they're bringing in another head of state, they're bringing in also their own support staff around. It may not be a lot, but they're bringing in. So here, I would have thought, and I'm thinking also, that Ishmael had a lot more other than the 10. Had a lot more other than the 10. So, oh Lord, I'm telling you, it's it's a lot, isn't it? It's a lot. So it was quite some time after Gedaliah, the governor, is now in place. He's getting his feet under the table, so to speak. He's beginning to put things in place. There is some order to Judah. God is very much again a part of this. God is not mentioned at all, but God is very much a part, and he's not happy. God is not happy. We're going to see that later on, I'm quite sure. But here the enemy is coming. We ought to note the month of his assassination is not, but not the year. So the exact date of the assassination is not known. Most likely it did not occur in the same year that Babylon destroyed Jerusalem. 2 months is not enough time to destroy a city such as Jerusalem, and to gather survivors and to determine which one of them are to be deported. So there is, I would say, some time. There's a certain length of time that this happens. In the light of things, it would seem that the assassination took place either in probably the following year or some years later. Some commentators suggest that it actually took place 5 years after Gedaliah took the position and kind of settled it, when Nebuchadnezzar returned to Judah and deported more Jews. Why would he return unless it was to restore order after some uprising had taken place? Whatever the case, anyway, Ishmael carried out this murderous plot. Now, I think when we go further into Jeremiah, we're going to see all of what has happened is going to fall into place. Something, and I'm just saying that. But we're just being told some important things that happened, and it may look a bit disjointed, but I think when we get further on into Jeremiah, we'll see what's happening. Ishmael carried out this plot at a dinner feast. While they were eating together, Ishmael and 10 of his men rose from the meal and killed the governor. And all the Jewish officials that were there, he killed them too. They even killed the Babylonian regiment that had been left behind to maintain order and to guard the governor. The assassination plot was successful. All the officials of the newly formed government of Judah were wiped out, but this did not satisfy Ishmael at all. Just like some people are very bloodthirsty, and we know some of them, don't we? It doesn't necessarily know that they're killing them and they're tasting the blood as such. But when they go out to destroy an individual, they not only destroy the individual, but they destroy sometimes friends and everybody that surrounds them. They just go all out for the kill. Ishmael, now on the next day, plotted to massacre 80 innocent people, worshippers. These worshippers were from several cities of the north, which is now Israel. Remember, Israel is already scattered. The northern kingdom is scattered, but there is some semblance of a kingdom there. But they are more or less scattered. Okay, they are passing through Mizpah on their way to worship at the temple site in Jerusalem. Again, Jerusalem and the temple are destroyed to some extent. Okay, human life was cheap to Ishmael. So when he saw the pilgrims with their large amount of supplies, he knew that it was a unique opportunity to rob them and to destroy them. He and his guerrillas, or guerrilla band, freedom fighters or resistance fighters, hatched a deceitful plot, weeping hypocritically and probably they were hysterical in their weeping. He joined the pilgrimage. As they walked along, he courteously suggested that they visit Gedaliah the governor. They were unaware that he was dead. They were not even being informed. Well, nobody was informed that the governor was dead. So they tricked them. As he led them to the governor's mansion, headquarters, house, the government buildings, he lured them into a trap that he had set. Without mercy, he slaughtered them also, all 70 of the victims, and threw their corpse into a cistern. Terrible man. Bloodthirsty again. 10 of the pilgrims were able to save their lives by appealing to Ishmael's, Israel's heart or Ishmael's thoughts, informing him that they had hidden large amounts of food and victuals and such. They offered to reveal the location in exchange for their lives. So he let them go instead of killing them. Ishmael, his heart, his mind, his intentions are exposed. And in the assassination of the governor and the vicious slaughter of the 10 pilgrims, the 70 pilgrims, which the 10 had known, but they pleaded with their lives. They saw how vicious um, Ishmael had become, or was. Ishmael kidnapped all the remaining Jews of Mizpah and fled in the direction of Ammon. Well, obviously, it was Baalis, wasn't it? The king of Ammon, that gave him the idea and even paid him probably quite handsomely to do just that. And so, therefore, in kidnapping the remaining Jews of Mizpah, which included the daughters of Zedekiah, they went into the direction of Ammon. Johanan now, who was the individual who had warned Gedaliah, the governor, of the plot which Ishmael was and had now hatched. When he heard about the atrocities that had taken place, they immediately launched a rescue attempt, and they fiercely pursued Ishmael and his band of hoarders or marauders or merrymen. Well, they weren't merrymen, but murderers. They quickly caught up with them at the pool of Gibeon, which was a mile from Mizpah. And when the kidnappers saw them coming, as you have read, and I would suggest that you reread that passage again so you can get another clearer view of what is being said here. When the victim saw Johanan coming, they shouted for joy and immediately ran and joined Johanan's forces. During this battle, Ishmael and 8 of his men escaped and fled to Ammon. Scripture doesn't really mention Ishmael or King Baalis again. Obviously, they're hiding. But let us, well, we don't know really if Babylon or Nebuchadnezzar attacked them. They're not mentioned again. But we don't know if in some later years Babylon had any mind of destroying them. Probably they were small and insignificant. Even though the children of Ammon were large, probably larger than Israel itself, but in the eyes of Babylon, probably they were just small and insignificant. And because Ishmael had already was there, it would make sense. It probably didn't make any sense at all for the Babylonians, the Chaldeans, even though they were attacked themselves, because Ishmael had killed a garrison of the Babylonians in Mizpah, as we have been told. A peaceful settlement in the land now seemed impossible because Johanan, who was known to Nebuchadnezzar as a freedom fighter, because remember he was one of the 5. Ishmael was one of that also, who was out on the periphery. They had to escape to the other countries or the areas, the Moabites, the Syrians, other areas. They were there, and Nebuchadnezzar probably heard of them. So what did Johanan do? Johanan, he himself took the people and fled to Egypt, because Nebuchadnezzar, probably not getting the story right, he may come and fight against Johanan, not knowing to some extent that Johanan had killed or had defeated the culprit. So he didn't really he didn't feel safe to feel the full wrath of the Babylonians or the Chaldeans. The group included Johanan, the guerrilla officers, soldiers, the women, the children, the court officials, eunuchs, who had been assigned to care for the daughters and families of King Zedekiah. Probably when darkness began to settle across the land, the group stopped at a village near Bethlehem. There is a fact, is a critical fact to note here, that absolutely nothing is said about Johanan and the others seeking the will or guidance of the Lord in their flight to Egypt. They were fleeing to Egypt because of their fear of the retaliation of the Chaldeans, not because God was leading them there. When Babylon received the report of the assassination of the governor and the other state officials, they were bound to be reprisals. Johanan and the other officers thought they had no other alternative than to flee to Egypt. Okay? So it wasn't that God had come in and told them that they ought to flee to Egypt. That's not there. God's name was never called or included. But then what would your conclusion be? What do you think? Jeremiah also is not said that he was consulted on what they should do. We don't know if at this time Jeremiah fled to Egypt himself. We're not told. We know he did go to Egypt, but what was it at this time? Interesting to know. You could probably do your own research at it. But we must remember, just like as it was then in the days of Jeremiah at the time, sin, trouble, not only dwelt during the time of Jeremiah, but it dwells in our day and time also. What we have to be very much aware is that we've got to know and be careful and be on the alert that we ourselves be not caught up in the things of sin or in the actions that others will give off and will do in order to bring some kind of glory or status to themselves. Men have received gifts of other men because of what they have done, and the thing that they have done is not good. Men have, again, committed murder. Now, it may not be the literal thing, it could be character assassination. Have you ever been a part of that? Only you can answer that for yourself. But that is not what we should be mixed up in. Remember, in the time of war, murder is not really thought of. It could be classed as what is it called now? There is a legal term that sometimes the United Nations or the Court of Human Rights or the World Courts usually use and place against state officials, governors themselves, prime ministers, presidents, kings, to say that they are the ones responsible for the death of another. And what they're really saying is that they committed murder. And that's if they don't agree with the war that has started. When war begins, then when life is taken, it's not really classed as murder, is it? Because it's war, it's wartime. Nation states against nation states, countries against countries, governments against other governments. Outside of war, outside of conflict, then when a man takes another man's life, to them, they are at conflict. To them, it could be that they're at war, but it's not the official war, is it? So it is classed as murder to some extent. Murder is the lawful taking of another man's life unlawfully. Well, that's my definition. But if that is correct, then or if I'm incorrect, if I'm not right, then I stand to be corrected. So please correct me if my thoughts are wrong. Let us not really have the heart and the mind like Ishmael. No. If we are in a position like Gedaliah, and I believe looking at this, we should learn from the mistake of the governor. If he had followed the counsel of of Johanan and had listened to Johanan, and even if he made some inquiries, then probably he would have lived a little longer. But he didn't. He completely ignored to the fact that he didn't believe Ishmael had the swords that Johanan said was going to happen. He couldn't believe it. He probably called Johanan a liar, a deceiver. He probably didn't trust Johanan. He trusted Ishmael more than he trusted Johanan. But when he realized and probably found out, it was too late because Ishmael had killed him and Johanan wasn't in the room. He wasn't anywhere near that, and probably it was a day later that when Johanan heard, he pursued Ishmael, found him, a fight ensued. There were probably many of his men that died, but the Bible tells us here, the account tells us that Ishmael and some of his men with him escaped to Ammon. He departed and went to Ammon, to the king of Ammon, who was Baalis. Let's not escape and run to the enemy king. No. If you ever do that, that's the wrong thing you've ever done. We need to run to the Lord. We need to look to him, inquire of the Lord. I wonder where Jeremiah was. I wonder where he was seated at this time. Was he still at Mizpah? Don't know. We just really don't know, because as far as the scripture is telling us, and has told us, Ishmael took the Jews that were there, took them captive, and went and was leaving to go to Ammon. That's where he was taken them. So we really don't know where Jeremiah. Let's say at this point, when we go further into the scriptures, then we may find out later where he was when this took place, or where he escaped to. But remember, we are just taking this one step at a time. God bless you. Continue to have a great day. Enjoy your family, enjoy your friends. Meditate on the word. Think on the Lord. Search the scriptures. Pray. Trust the Lord. But he is willing. He is willing, and he's waiting to take us through whatever the situation is in our life. He's going to make us help us. May God bless you.